It's Saturday, August 30th, and we're about to see another break in our severe weather. And we can see that there is no severe risk outlined today. However, I do think some strong thunderstorms could pretty much be possible in this entire light shaded green area. And a couple of hot spots would be out here stretching all the way down from Kansas through to Oklahoma, then also out here in eastern New Mexico and far western Texas. And with those hot spots bringing potentially some stronger thunderstorms, there will also be a stronger threat of seeing some potential flash flooding. And both those slight risk, which cover pretty much both those areas I just mentioned, we could see anywhere between 2 to 5 inches of rain within that area. So there is definitely the potential for some flash flooding in any of those areas. So if you are in any of those slight risks, definitely stay weather aware and look for those flash flood risks today. Then we do have a really big marginal risk of flash flooding, which pretty much stretches through the entire Great Plains, down through the Gulf Coast, and even back into most of Florida, only excluding southwestern Florida. But in that area, there is a very conditional threat for flash flooding, and there is a pretty likely chance of seeing 1 to 2 inches of rain today. And then temperature-wise, it's going to be another pretty good day, especially if you're up here in parts of northern and central Texas, where you've really been the only place missing out on seeing this nice weather. You're actually going to see a bit of a cool down, whereas only southern Texas and southern Florida will be the only place in the entire country. And then, of course, the central California Valley will also be experiencing some low 100s to mid 90s feels like temperatures, but everywhere else is going to be in that mid 80s to low 70s range, probably more in the middle of that, but still some pretty nice weather for the summer. And then it's actually only going to get cooler later this week, likely around September 4th. We could potentially see some freezing temperatures up here in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Michigan Peninsula. So that's something to look out for. Then here's our tropical outlook from the National Hurricane Center, and we still see that little blotch of development. It is actually uptrended slightly since yesterday. It's now at a 30% chance of development, but we can see just the big distance between the U.S. in this area. It would take pretty much over a week for this to even reach the U.S. if it were to develop. So currently, this track or any potential tracks that you might be seeing really don't mean anything. And this is just something to watch and not worry about as it starts to move westward through the main development region. And here's what the radar could look like today out here in the central plains, specifically stretching all the way down from South Dakota into parts of Kansas. And we're going to have a bit of a setup bringing pretty much rain all day, stretching from daybreak all the way until nightfall. And this is going to be brought by a bit of a stalled low pressure system kind of up here with a trough, then draping bit of a cold front down. Then there's also just going to be loads of westerly flow, then also some troughing assisting this as well. And this likely isn't really going to be severe. The storm gradients aren't really going to be out here at all today, mostly because the atmosphere is going to be quite a bit more stable, but there's going to still be that potential for some strong thunderstorms and some weak gusty winds. But the main thing is going to be that threat of flooding. These thunderstorms or rain showers are going to be pretty much overspreading this entire region all day, bringing quite a bit of rainfall to the region in that 2 to 5 inch range. So there is definitely the potential for flash flooding today, but for any severe storms, that's really not looking that likely out here. And then moving a tad bit more south to somewhere where I actually do potentially think we could see some severe weather. That's going to be pretty much anywhere from far eastern New Mexico all the way through this little corridor in central Texas, brought by bit of a trough digging in, and then also just peak heating. These storms would likely initiate around the mid-afternoon and then kind of die off near the evening hours, whereas our storms in eastern New Mexico would kind of initiate right around nightfall. And the likelihood of these storms producing some severe characteristics is definitely not zero, and the main threat with these would be some gusty winds and potentially some small hail. That tornado risk is looking pretty close to zero. And then, of course, there could be quite a bit of rainfall with this as well. And here are 500 millibar winds, kind of giving us a better idea on why our storms are where they are today. And the first thing we're going to notice is definitely a bit of a trough. And then, of course, that low pressure system up here in parts of South Dakota and Nebraska, also draping down that cold front, bringing a lot of those thunderstorms and just general showers today. Another thing we're going to notice is a bit of an area of increased flow, specifically up here, which looks like it's going to creep a bit more south as we go through the day. Not really, though. And this is also going to help to bring some of our storms out here in central Texas. And of course, there could be a bit of a low pressure system also helping to initiating these, kind of traversing this central line through Texas as well, also helping to bring those storms. And this is a snapshot of that eastern New Mexico and Texas environment, possibly bringing some 60-mile-an-hour damaging winds, then also some small hail, although it looks like it's mostly going to be just winds. And there definitely is enough moisture for that to happen and enough CAPE for that to happen. 65 dew point and 3,000 plus CAPE. Another thing to note is that we do have some dry air loft and also downdraft CAPE of nearly 1,400. So definitely some 60-mile-an-hour damaging winds possible with these storms out there today. Our organizing shear looks to be one of the limiting factors. That's going to be on the lower side of only around 21 knots to really see those big organized storms. We'd like to see closer to 40. That's only about half that. So there are questions about if that's enough to get the job done. But instability wise, our 3 CAPE is also going to be quite high, around 172. And then on top of this, our cloud bases could be somewhat close to the ground. And because we do have quite a bit of 3 CAPE and low enough cloud bases, it kind of makes us think, could there be a tornado threat today? But it's going to be really close to zero because our low level shear and helicity is just not going to be present at all. Then also our precipitable water is going to be 1.4, which could also bring some stronger downdrafts and some of that flooding. Then for that hail risk, it's going to be quite small because our freezing level is going to be so high up. So even despite us having those 7.1 Celsius decreasing per kilometer lapse rates and quite a bit of CAPE up here near our freezing level, because our freezing level is so high up, 17,000, and also because we don't really have a lot of organizing shear, which we see bring those strong updrafts. It looks like it's mostly just going to be that conditional threat of some 60-mile-an-hour damaging winds out here today in that corridor in central Texas and also eastern New Mexico.